Hello everyone. Welcome to Skills Build Training YouTube channel. Myself Muhammad Zubair, and this channel is all about showing you how to become an IT pro really fast. So the topic of today's video is understanding power supplies for beginners. Power supply rating explained. So without any further ado, let's get started. Well, there are two types of power supplies in general. The first one is the cheap one, and the second one is the good one, or you can say the expensive one. We can differentiate the power supplies on the basis of two things, and these are nice to have and must have. In must have, we can talk about the good quality capacitors and the high performance components for delivery of power. And the most important job of a power supply is to provide the system and its component with 12-volt current, because we get 110 or in some countries 220 volts, and power supply have to shift it to 12 volts because all of your system components work on 12, 5 and some work on 3 volts. Now the question comes into mind that how to check or make sure if a power supply is an efficient one. Well, there is something called a rating. So power supply with 80 plus rating is considered a good power supply, but this was considered good back in the days. Now 80 plus is considered as terrible because now we have some colors with 80 plus as well. Like now we have efficiency level certificates, and in that we have different colors like 80 plus white, 80 plus bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and the last and the most efficient one is titanium. If we talk about the efficiency of each color, 80 plus white has 80 to 82% of efficiency. We have bronze with almost 85%, and with every color in the list, we have more efficiency. And the titanium is the one having most of the efficiency with 94%. And by efficiency, we mean to have the delivery rate of the power supply. The better the efficiency, the better the supply rate. So that was all about the must have. If we talk about nice to have features or the features in power supply which can help you in a better way, then there are power supplies with colored wires coming out of it. We get three colors in those wires: yellow, red, and orange one. And some power supply also have black wires, and that is for ground wires. So it helps a lot to know which wire to use where and not to mess up with systems components. Another thing which good power supply possess is the protection mechanism, as some of the power supplies have built-in protection to make sure that your PC and components are safe from the power related issues. The first one is overload and overcurrent protection. In this, we have the circuit that eventually protects the power supply and your systems by shutting down the power supply when you have the power exceeding the limit. The second one is over voltage protection. It makes sure that the output voltage do not get or exceeds a specific limit, because higher voltage can cause your system critical damages. Now question which comes into mind is, do we need an efficient power supply? Well, the answer is having a good and efficient power supply is not a bad thing, but a plus point. Yes, we can use the regular or general power supplies with efficiency between 70 to 80%, but there will be threat of losing it soon as it will have ordinary components in it and they can lead it to fail anytime. But on the other hand, having a good and efficient power supply is not that simple, because with more efficiency, the cost get higher, which can be a significant concern for some users. For example, a power supply with 80 plus titanium rating can cost you almost double the price of the 80 plus bronze power supply with the same watts. So do power supply with good rating save you anything? Yes, they do. If you are using heavy duty software on your system, a power supply can save you electricity. One very prominent feature with a good power supply is heat radiation. So the more efficient power supply is, the less radiation it will produce. It also means that the heat a power supply generates is power in actual. So the excellent power supply will make sure to use the most amount of current from your wall and deliver it to your system without wasting any of it in the form of heat. Now let's take a scenario to understand the importance of power supply in more depth. Let's say you are a gamer or you use some heavy duty software, and let's say you have a bad or faulty RAM in your system. What it can do, it can ruin your gaming experience, or it can freeze your system, or it will slow down your system's performance. But having an insufficient or low efficient power supply can destroy your hardware components permanently, which means loss of money. So it is better to spend a little bit extra to save a considerable amount of expenses in terms of hardware components is always worth it. So it is better to go with the power supply with 80 plus rating. It does not mean that you should go for the platinum or the titanium one. The power supply with an 80 plus gold rating works well with the high end machines. Now let's talk about how to choose a power supply for the PC because there are power supplies with different watts. So to have a sufficient one is a must. There are tools and websites available which can calculate for you that which power supply you will be needing. You just have to select the components you are using in your system or you are planning to use in your system, and that tool or website will figure it out everything for you and it will let you know about the required one. I'll show you one here. This is one of the tool, and here you can see we have different system components. And now what I need to do, I just need to select my components which I am planning to use or which I have used into my system at the moment. So for my CPU, which is also known as Central Processing Unit, I'll go with AMD, and for series, I'll go with the last one. And here it is. And now for my motherboard, I'll go with Micro ATX. Now let's talk about the graphical processing unit, which is commonly known as GPU. I'll select AMD chipset, and for my series, I'll go with the last one, and here it is, and I want to have two of them. And for my RAM, I'm going with 8 gigabytes of RAM with DDR4, and I'm planning to have two of them. Then for my SSD, I'm going with 512 to 1 terabytes, and then I'm going to have two of them. For my hard disk drive, I'm planning to go with 15,000 RPM, and then I'm going to have just one of them. And the last option is optical drive. I will select the CD-ROM. You can go with any one of these, and if you do not have any one of these, you can go with not installed. I'm going with CD-ROM, and here you can see we have 938 watts, and here it says your recommended PSU wattage is 938 watts. Means if you are going or if you have these components in your system, you must have at least these watts with your power supply. So now you have a better understanding that with which limit or up to how much power watt your power supply should have. So this is a really easy and a really cool thing. So in the end, I will talk about one misconcept which is related to the power supply wattages. Let's say you have a 1600 watts power supply. It does not mean that we are overpowering our system and eventually we are moving towards the destruction of our system. Well, it does not mean that. Power supplies are designed to deliver what is required from the system. If your system needs 600 watts of power, then you will use a particular power supply. And if you are using 1600 watts power supply, it means the requirements from the system are such high in terms of the power supply that only a 1600 watts power supply can fill that. As we have just seen that we needed 938 watts of power, so it means we will use the power supply which can deliver that much power. Obviously, we will go around 1000 or 950 watts power supply, and eventually we will not be overpowering our system. And with that, we got to the end of today's video. And I hope now you have a better understanding about power supplies and you have better idea that how to choose a particular one for your system. And I hope you must have learned a lot of new things about power supplies. And if that is the case, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon along with it. If you have something to ask, please leave a comment below. We will get back to you as soon as possible. Till the next video, take care.